You don't have any exposure to Bitcoin. What the hell are you doing? The fact that you're not actually says a lot about you rather than it does about Bitcoin. Don't get locked in on the minute by minute candles or price action of what is happening in the crypto space. It will drive you insane. Crypto won't save you if you're financially reckless. That's not how it works. 99% of cryptos are actually scams. Most people come in at the highs. You're not late to crypto, just early to the next cycle. The only reason why you would now keep your money in industry superannuation fund is because you're not educated. I'm Matthew Fraser and this is Crypto Collective. After making millions with Amazon and e-commerce, I realized that if I was starting again today, crypto would be my first choice. I'm here to help you take your first steps and build real wealth. Ready to set yourself up for life? Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to Crypto Collective. My name is Matthew Fraser. And today's episode, I'm going to be giving you brutal advice from myself, a multi-millionaire in the crypto space. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, let's start by saying this. Crypto won't save you if you're financially reckless. Crypto is not one of those things where you can just blindly put money into any type of crypto and it just instantly becomes an overnight success. Like you just make millions of dollars. That's not how it works. And I see a lot of people, particularly recently, who have jumped on the meme bandwagon, right? Because you do, look, I understand why you would do it, because you see a lot of things on social media that shows guys who put 79 cents into a meme and they sold it at like $800,000. Guys, I'm telling you, it's bullshit. Okay, that does not happen. And even if you find someone that it does happen to, it would be one in like a kabillion people that just somehow miraculously put a little bit of money in and end up selling at exactly the right moment. My advice to you is do not get suckered in to these types of crypto. I would call them scams, to be honest, because 99% of cryptos are actually scams. I mean, I even had a friend of mine the other day ring me. And this is after I've been telling him about getting a part of his superannuation exposed to Bitcoin, right? Getting out of the industry super fund, which, let's be honest, is shit. Okay, you're only going to get probably, if history shows, between 6 to 8%. Okay, he's going to take some of his money out of the industry super fund, put it into Bitcoin. Now, he knows the returns. Last year alone, we saw 120% returning in crypto in 2024, right? On average, over the past sort of 5+ years, it's been 50 to 60% compounding, right? It's been very good. But even despite all those numbers and where it's likely to go over the next 20 years, my friend still rang me and said, Matt, I've just seen Mr. Peanut coin. It could go really, really high. Should I put some money into it? And I just had to slap him around the head and say, what are you thinking? I mean, I've already told you the numbers. Look, let me put it this way to you. I said, if you want to piss that money up the wall and you're prepared to just let it go and basically flush it down the toilet, then go ahead and do it. And maybe sometimes I should just let my friends do that so they get a taste of what it's like just to lose their money. So they then come back and say, yeah, you're right. All these shit coins, as they're called, or cryptos, are just not worth it. I'm just going to stick to what's tried and proven over 16 years now, which is Bitcoin. And so this happens to the best of us. Yeah. I've got other stories of guys who put money into these cryptos and then lost $50,000. Can you imagine actually just having $50,000 in your bank account and just thinking, gone? It's just like a meme out of South Park, right? You put your money in and it's gone. And that's exactly what happens to people. And it happens a lot. This is probably, if I just digress a second, this is probably partly the reason why it's so difficult to get your money out of a bank now into crypto exchanges, because the banks know that most people are fucking stupid. That's just the reality of it. They know that you're going to piss it up the wall. And here's the next problem, is that when you do piss it up the wall, you don't take responsibility for your own actions. You then go back to the bank. You call up the bank. Oh, I was stupid. I got scammed. I got rug pulled. I didn't know what I was doing. That's not the bank's fucking problem. It's your problem. And you need to take responsibility for your own actions. Because guess what? Because you're actually doing that, you're fucking it all up for everybody else. Because now people like myself even though I don't have too many problems, but other people who are actually not so reckless, who just want to move some money into a crypto exchange, the bank's tightening down and all this stuff, and it takes a long time to get through all the rubbish to get the money in. So it's all the idiots out there who are actually causing the problem. All I can say is don't be greedy. And I know it's hard because you see these things on social media, like I said, and you think you're going to get rich overnight too. But trust me, you are not going to get rich overnight. If it was possible, then everybody would be doing it. You'd see Lamborghinis down the street and Ferraris down the street. The Lamborghini dealership would have a sold out sticker on it because everyone would just had made it. Please, guys, I don't want you to lose money. That is not my goal. My goal is to give you the brutal, honest truth in this episode so that you don't lose all your money. Because I tell you what, you lose all your money, next thing you know, you probably lose your partner, your wife, your marriage break up, your kids are gone. I mean, it could be absolute devastation, and I do not want that to happen for you. So what you're going to say to me then is, okay, Matt, if we can't get rich quick, then how do we get rich? Well, I'm telling you, it's not easy. Okay, that's the fact. If it was easy getting rich in crypto, just like it was just easy getting rich full stop, then everyone would just be rich, right? But you have to have the right mindset. You can't be, like I said in the outset, financially reckless. You got to take the right precautions. You got to do the right education to understand what you're investing in. And that's not even crypto. Like, you've got to understand what you're investing in, not just crypto, but property, into shares and stocks and the whole gamut of assets that are out there. You could even stuff it up investing in gold. Gold, which is for the most part a pretty safe type of investment. It's not really going anywhere. It's been around for thousands of years, but people still stuff it up because they buy at the wrong time. The market dips, they sell, they lose money. People make mistakes. So regardless of the asset, especially in crypto, you must get educated. So even if that means you've got to go and get educated by paying someone, this is not a talking me up type of thing. I'm not asking you to pay me. I'm just saying, just find anyone who's financially more savvy than you in whatever industry you're looking into, particularly in the crypto space. And I can tell you from personal experience, when I got into crypto, put my hand up, I was crap, right? I had no idea what I was doing, right? I didn't understand market cycles. I didn't even know what altcoins meant. I didn't even understand what altcoins meant, which of course just rolls off the tongue now. But for a lot of new people, of course, you don't know, right? And you've got to get in on the know before you can start parting with your hard-earned cash. Getting the money into your pocket is already difficult. So don't make it even more difficult by pissing that money up the wall. Invest in yourself. So this is what I'm saying. Go and find some courses, even if it's an online course, just get educated, start small, and at least go a little bit away to understanding what you're getting into so you don't fuck it up. Yeah. The next bit of brutal advice is for people who are in the market already, but they're constantly tracking the market, like relentlessly, like every single, like by the 5 minute, by the minute candles, right? It's just not the right attitude to have when you're coming into this space, right? Because it can start to mess with your psyche. What? It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, right? And the crypto market is so volatile anyway, it's going to be up and down. What you need to do is zoom out, right? And that there's a saying in this game, which is, if in doubt, zoom out, right? Which means zoom out at the landscape of crypto over a longer time frame. Because although it might be going up and down, violently, let's say in a day, when you zoom out to perhaps a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's a blip. You don't even notice it. And so it gives you a sense of calm. Like, oh, hang on a second, it might have dropped 5%, 10% today, but overall the market is actually trending in the upwards direction, for example. Now I can tell you that is the case for Bitcoin. Over the course of 16 odd years, Bitcoin has had ups and downs to do with its the bear markets and also the bull markets, or the bear cycles and the bull cycles. That's just a normal course of what happens in the crypto game, right? So don't get locked in on the minute by minute candles or price action of what is happening in the crypto space, because it will drive you insane. Now that leads me into crypto is a long game. It's not a slot machine that you just put money in and expect it to 10x. Actually, wouldn't that be good? I put $10 into the slot machine and it spat out $100. This is a great machine, right? Every time. That's how some people think the crypto space is. I just put money in and I pour more money out, and it's more, and I made a profit. It goes back to the beginning, right? It's not a get rich quick scheme. Now, can you make money in a quicker time frame than, let's say, Bitcoin, for example, which might be over a longer time frame? Yeah, you can, but you've got to be so Johnny on the spot and know what you are doing in order to buy at a particular low point to sell at a future high point, right? And even if that's over 3 months, the market seems to always move against wherever you think it's going. And even just this year, right, in the year of 2025, the altcoins were all at an all-time high, for the most part, were at all-time highs at the beginning of this year. And then basically from the beginning of this year, they've gone down a lot, like some 40, 50, 60 plus %. I personally hold altcoins. Some of them are down 80%. Now, am I losing sleep over it? No, because when I got into the market, I allocated my altcoin portfolio to a point where it's only a small section of my overall portfolio. And I remember getting in when I was allocating, and I remember thinking at the time, am I prepared for this altcoin allocation, which is in the multiple six figures? Am I prepared for this to go to zero? And the answer I had in my head was yes. I am prepared for this to go to zero. It's a gamble. I can't predict the future. I can guesstimate the future based on history, but things happen. Now, a lot of people at the moment have started selling out of their altcoins. Even a lot of high profile people on social media who are running courses, they've sold out of their altcoins. I personally haven't sold out of most of my altcoins. I did sell out of some altcoins actually towards the beginning of this year, which probably in hindsight was actually quite good. But I simply rotated those into other altcoins. You know, I went out of smaller position altcoins, lower cap altcoins into Solana. I just really wanted to put more money into Solana, which has a higher market cap and I think has more fundamental tokenomics behind it for the future. So without going into the weeds, I think my Solana is actually my second largest holding after Bitcoin, which you guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that because I talk about it all the time. This is the state of play right now, is a lot of people have actually lost a lot of money. So I'm getting to is they've lost a lot of money because most people come in at the highs, okay? When the euphoria is there and it's all over the television and everyone's high-fiving each other and yes, look at it. It's at an all-time high right now. And then that's when other people buy in because they're feeling the same sense of euphoria of, wow, it's going to keep going up. And the reality is that the market just doesn't go up and up and up and up and up forever, right? There's corrections, down periods, bear cycles. And look, there's some people saying that it could even go lower today than what it is now. Now, by the time you see this video, maybe it's come back up again. And right now, as of today, it's sitting at about 82,000 US dollars. So it could be, by the time you see this video, $62,000, or it could be back up to $112,000. Yeah, it could be an all-time high. So who really knows? And a lot of the macro conditions are coming in. Macro conditions meaning like the worldwide events that are really outside of the micro conditions of like what's happening in your backyard. Tariffs, the world wars that are happening at the moment, those largely are having an effect on the markets. So guys, it's a long-term game is what I'm getting at. Long-term meaning for me, it's years and years, not hours, days, weeks, right? For me, it's not even months. It's actually years and years and years. And I think if you sit down and do the numbers just like I do inside my crypto collective community. And if you want to join the crypto collective community to have access to me, answer all your questions, find the link in the description somewhere. It's free to join. And I'd love to answer your questions as I do for many others. But sometimes you just need things to bounce ideas off. And so I'm there to help. So what I talk about though is the long-term game, right? Of 10, 20 years. I'm even thinking now in my children's future years, which really comes down to 30 and 40 years. My children right now, 5 and 10. So they're going to be, in their 30s and 40s, right? By the time I'm sort of thinking, okay, which if that all plays out, Bitcoin is likely to be somewhere between, if we talk 20 years, somewhere between 13 million US dollars a coin, possibly up to a bull case scenario, this is according to Michael Saylor, upwards of 75 million US dollars a coin. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's why it's so important to have that long time frame. And I always say, particularly to people who are getting in now, get your foot in the game, have some exposure, even don't forget about the research bit, right? Just I know I said before, do some research, but I'm talking about just put like $100 in. $100 is actually forming part of your research. Okay. And the reason why is because once you put some money in the system, you then start to take notice. As you could read all the books, and I want to just quickly plug this one, The Big Print by Lawrence Lepard, absolutely amazing. That one's only just come out. And this one here, the Bitcoin Standard. Now, the Bitcoin Standard is the one that every Bitcoiner must read. Every person who's new to the crypto space and Bitcoin must read. So free plug for those books. Essential reading will give you an excellent idea and insight into Bitcoin and the ins and outs of it. Okay, I'll leave it at that, but essential reading. Hey, just quickly, if you're ready to dive deeper into crypto and Bitcoin and build real wealth, join my free crypto collective community. It's where I share exclusive insights and strategies and live discussions to help you succeed, whether you're a beginner or scaling your portfolio. Click on the link in the description and join us today. Now back to the episode. When it comes down to long-term investing, dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin is the way to go. So guys, the other one I hear a lot is you need to have a lot of diversification, let's call it, within the altcoins, right? Rather than just having one solid conviction on one or two or three or four possibly altcoins and Bitcoin. And I understand there's some differences because of different strategies. Some people might be wanting to invest in altcoins because they believe they're going to have a much higher return through, let's say, this next bull cycle. Yeah, they may plan to sell out those altcoins and see more of a return. But having said that, the altcoins also come with much higher risk. You have to think about your strategy. And I, at this point, would consolidate more into, if you have to buy altcoins, I would consolidate into maybe no more than, I'm going to say 5 altcoins, and you must have Bitcoin. I don't really care what you say. In my opinion, you must have exposure to Bitcoin. And I would even argue that the majority of your exposure should be in Bitcoin. Because I can tell you, when friends come to see me and they talk about XYZ altcoins, I say, listen, governments around the world are not buying up Mr. Peanut Coin, okay? You might argue to me that it's going to have an amazing return over the next 6 months or 12 months. Fundamentally, it's rubbish. Okay, there is no actual use case for it. I understand there's a use case within the meme coin space in crypto. However, to the average punter, there really is no utility case for meme coins, except for it's just fun to see it go up and down, right? And get out before you get rug pulled. That's the fun bit. You must have the Bitcoin exposure. And the reason why is you run the risk right now. And this is to everybody. Actually, this is to everybody who has no Bitcoin. Right? So people who are brand new to the market, what you will say to me is, Matthew, we can only buy Bitcoin with money we can afford to lose. And I'm going to pose it to you this way. The risk that you run right now is actually having no exposure to Bitcoin. And I would say only put money in that you can't afford to lose. Okay. I'm going to say that again because your head right now is spinning. Only put money into Bitcoin that you cannot afford to lose, because the only thing that we can guarantee right now, if we look at history, is that the fiat currency is being debased. You've got inflation. What that means is the purchasing power of your fiat dollars, which is your money, your currency, your Australian dollars, the purchasing power is going backwards. And you don't have to think of that as a conspiracy or anything. You just have to look at when you go to pick up the groceries and you go through the shops and you look at the price of everything has increased. So the amount of money that you had last year and the year before that is now buying less this year. That is because of currency debasement. And if you want to extrapolate that to really hit home, you only have to go back to say like the 80s or the 90s to think how much was something worth back then compared to what is being charged for today. That is currency debasement caused by money printing by central banks. That is the reason. So on the flip side, the one thing that you can also pretty much guarantee right now is that Bitcoin is not going in the downward trajectory. Now, I can hear that. I can hear the people now commenting, oh, Matt, that's rubbish because we just saw Bitcoin go from an all-time high earlier this year and now it's crashed all the way down to $80,000. Yeah, I would argue that's a market correction. But if you look at the overall long-term value of Bitcoin over the last 15, 16 years, it's gone in the upwards direction. If you just do the research, and I'm not even going to say it myself, even someone who I look up to, who I respect, Michael Saylor. As I just mentioned before, he believes that the next 20 years are going to be the gold rush for Bitcoin. This is when Bitcoin is going to be explosive. So the risk that you run is having no exposure to the asset that is likely to be the best performing asset over the next 20 years. It's already been the best performing asset over basically the past 10 to 15 years. I know it's scary because you're trying to get your head around, what is Bitcoin? What does it even do? I think it's just air money and it's just on the internet, right? I even just remember I had a guy just put up a comment the other day in one of my posts and he said, if you turn off the computer, then you could just lose your Bitcoin. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Don't make such ill-informed comments, if I can put it that way. And that's okay. And I don't want to, I'm not sort of being down on him, but it's certainly a comment that it's really in this day and age that people even still think that, but I guess they do. And that's because they're not getting educated. I want to say this too. You've heard me say this many times before. I used to think Bitcoin was a scam. And so when you start throwing the words at me, Matt, Bitcoin's a scam and it's nothing, I get it, right? I used to be there too. Okay, I used to think Bitcoin was a scam. And this was going back, 8 years ago. But what I did is I woke up one day, I had my orange pill moment. I can't remember the exact reason why. It was probably because I didn't want to lose my wealth, the wealth that I've created through e-commerce. I want to retain my wealth and build on my wealth into the future, right? And don't begrudge me for that because you would want to do the same thing. If you became a multimillionaire, you would also want to protect your wealth too, right? And so I'm just sharing this to you so that you can learn from what I've done. Okay, so you need to go and get the Bitcoin Standard. I know I keep saying it, but honestly, it's the best book to read to understand Bitcoin. And really, I think once you've read it, you'll then start thinking completely differently about Bitcoin. But let me also say this, it's not even you need to go read the book. You just have to turn on the TV. Just turn on the TV and see actually what's happening in the world of the Bitcoin crypto space. In America right now, we have Donald Trump, who's the crypto, or I guess you would say the Bitcoin president, right? So what he's doing is in case you're not up to speed with this, he's implementing a strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? What does that mean? They're going to be buying up, grabbing Bitcoin from their existing stashes they've got around the country, but accumulating Bitcoin for the future. And as Donald Trump says, they're never selling. And so the more that they accumulate, the better it is for everybody else. Now, why is it good though if Donald Trump accumulates Bitcoin and just accumulates it in the US? Well, the reason why is because Bitcoin has a finite supply. There's a limited number of Bitcoin that will be in the market. And I saw another post the other day who just he just didn't understand it. Yeah, but if it's 21 million is the market cap of Bitcoin, that's all that will ever be produced. What happens if they just go and make more? What happens? Good question. What happens? They can't go and make more. You cannot make more than 21 Bitcoin. Why? Because it's just the way Bitcoin is designed. It's how the system works. The code of Bitcoin, as you could say, that's just how it works. There is only 21 million that will ever be produced. We're actually right now coming up to 20 million Bitcoin that have now been produced in the system. And what's interesting is they even say that up to about 5 million Bitcoin, I think it may even be more, but up to 5 million Bitcoin are lost. So there's actually now only 15 million in circulation. Now, why is that important and how does that now relate to Donald Trump accumulating Bitcoin? It means that because there's a finite supply, there's less to go around for everybody, which means that as there's more demand for Bitcoin, the price of the value of Bitcoin in monetary terms increases. It's a simple supply and demand. The pressures on Bitcoin, people want to buy it. They want to store their wealth. It's considered a store of value. So they retain all their wealth in Bitcoin because it cannot be debased. You can't just go and print more of it. Going back to, I guess, what is the risk? I mentioned before, the risk is that you hold on to cash, and what we know for certain is it will be debased and you will have less of purchasing power into the future. Because someone said to me the other day, Matt, $1 will always be worth $1. So, why would I go and buy Bitcoin? I'm like, this $1 that you had back in 1980, yeah, essentially it's still $1 today, but what can you buy with it today? What you could buy for $1 back in 1980 was a lot more than what you can buy for $1 today. So I'm being brutal about it because I just want to give you the facts. You're not late to crypto, just early to the next cycle. This comes up all the time. Oh, I don't want to buy any Bitcoin. It's too late. It's just hit $108,000 all-time high. Oh, it's just too much. I've even got guys, they bought it when it was like $20,000 and then it got to $30,000 and they sold that thing. They're like, no, we're taking out 10 grand, we're out. And now it's got up to $100,000+ or even today at 80 odd $1,000. And they just can't get over the fact that they've got to pay more. And I think that's why, now that I think about it, I think that's why so many people who don't hold Bitcoin hate Bitcoin. It pisses them off. The fact that you hold Bitcoin and you probably got it at a price much cheaper than what they're going to have to eventually pay. Because eventually everybody's going to have to move on to the Bitcoin standard. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to have to pay a lot more than what they're going to have to pay today. Now, of course, people are pissed off. I understand it. I would have loved to have bought Bitcoin when it was 30 cents, $1, $100, $1,000. Hey, I would have loved to have bought more at $10,000. It would have been a dream, but I didn't buy it at $10,000, right? And the old saying goes right now, one of Michael Saylor's 21 rules of Bitcoin is that you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. So guys, what I want to say to you is, you're not too late to crypto. You're not too late to Bitcoin, especially. Now, what I would say is just start your dollar cost averaging, right? Just start buying into the market at whatever you can afford to do. All the money that you don't want to lose, you put it into Bitcoin. But whatever you can spare out of your day-to-day cash flow, whether that's $100 a day, $100 a week, $100 a month, you must start allocating. Okay. It is simple. All you have to do is get a little bit of education to understand how to do it, and you'll find that it's really, really simple. Because I'm telling you, you are going to be missing out if you do not start buying today. Okay. What's going to happen? I'm predicting the future right now because the signs are all there. And if you want to go and research this on Google, you can. The banks in America are already allowed to and will start custodying Bitcoin. I just spoke to Ken, who's already based out of the US, right? He just told me that the banks now are going to start having Bitcoin wallets in the bank. So when you log onto your net banking, they'll have savings account, X amount of dollars, Bitcoin account, X amount of Bitcoin. That is happening. And once that does, this is why it's so important. Once the banks start custodying Bitcoin, everyone will start flooding in. Everyone will start flooding in. And I understand why, because now it seems, it's legit now. I can now go to the Commonwealth Bank and they're going to hold my Bitcoin for me. In fact, I can just go to the Commonwealth Bank and I can actually buy Bitcoin through their exchange. How easy is that? And once that happens, the floodgates will open. Everyone will start rushing in and buying up as much Bitcoin as they possibly can afford, because now it seems safe and secure in the bank. And it's not to say that it's not safe and secure now. It's just that once the banks start doing it, it becomes easy. And people don't want to do things that's outside their comfort zone or might be considered not easy to do, right? Now, once they do that, guess what's going to happen to the Bitcoin price? It's going to go through the roof. Yeah, because everyone's going to start rushing in. And remember, there's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be produced, and likely only about 16 million that will be in circulation at any one time. And a lot of people right now are holding onto their Bitcoin, right? You're going to have to wrestle people, put guns to people's head in order for them to release their Bitcoin, because I won't be releasing my Bitcoin, and neither will a lot of other people. I don't want to scare you, but I just want to give you the facts so that you know that time is running out, and just simply the sooner you get in, the better. Okay, guys, this one is going to be super, excuse the pun, but super controversial, which is about superannuation. And I can tell you, I've moved all of my super out of the industry super fund, my money out of the industry super fund, and moved it all into Bitcoin. And you're going to have kittens right now thinking, oh my God, Matt, now I said this before, only put money into Bitcoin that you cannot afford to lose, right? Now, I just want to give you some just examples of the money. If I'd left my money in the industry super fund last year in 2024, I would have got about 8 or 9% return. Instead though, my Bitcoin, right? So my value went up 120%. right? It is a joke. And the only reason why you would now keep your money in the industry superannuation fund is because you're not educated. That's honestly what I believe is the only reason. Now, you could argue, oh, Matt, the superannuation system in Australia has been fantastic and people put money into it. I agree. The superannuation system in Australia, for the most part, has been very good to put money aside and stack cash for the future while it's, of course, compounding. But the problem is that up until just recently, there was no Bitcoin. So you could only compare it to whatever was the old world, the triad, the traditional finance world, which was returns of, let's say, 6 to 10, and even if you got upwards of 13%, that would have been incredible. That would have been like a superstar year. I just had a really good conversation with a guy yesterday on my social, because this guy's coming from the TradFi world. He's in the superannuation funds heavily. He's got clients, so I presume he's probably some sort of financial advisor or something. He said, Matt, all the people I talk to, compounding within super has been absolutely fantastic for them. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it has, but that it doesn't even meet the hurdle rate. Now, what is the hurdle rate right now? You kind of have to be getting above 14% per annum in order just to break even, considering currency debasement and inflation. That's just the facts. I know people hate to hear that because we like to think that we've got money sitting in super and it's just setting us up for the future. And then when we get to retirement age, we're all just going to be able to go on overseas holidays. It'll be fantastic. The reality is, guys, that is now a dream for most, okay? So you're going to have to start taking action and start thinking about, how can I beat the hurdle rate? Right now, there's a few different ways to do it, but one of the easiest ways, in my opinion, is to simply allocate your superannuation fund into Bitcoin. As I said before, over the last 5+ years, you've seen a 50 to 60% compounding rate on Bitcoin, right? What's it likely to do into the future? It's probably going to do at least 30 to 50% compounding annually over the next 20 years. You simply cannot beat it. And as everyone else around the world starts to adopt it, you do not want to be left behind. So guys, I'm going to leave it at that. It was the brutal and honest, devastating truth from me, who's a multimillionaire, and I hope you can take all that to the bank, so to speak. Go get some Bitcoin. All right, take care. I'm Matthew Fraser, and this is Crypto Collective. After making millions with Amazon and e-commerce, I realized that if I was starting again today, crypto would be my first choice. I'm here to help you take your first steps and build real wealth. Ready to set yourself up for life? Let's go.